Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show!
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting round of and new MMA show. I'm your host, Michael Hansen, joining you from a new undisclosed location in New York State.
In the bunker.
And I am joined this week by only one of my co-hosts. He is also in an undisclosed location in New York State. Mark Priaulx. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? Yeah, it's a two-man booth tonight. We have lost Omar. He is sick. Really, he felt so upset by all the hate we got on the Dricus video that he decided not to return. No, he's
That's
sick.
Right.
He will be missed. But we do have a special guest coming up later in this episode, so there will be three of us at some point. I am back to having weird lighting. Not sure what happened. We had solved this issue, and now it has returned. So it's shining on my head. But yeah, how's it feel to be back in NY, recording from the home state?
Dude, it feels great. We got in. I'm here because I have a gig tomorrow night. I'm doing a Warriors Cup in Queens. So my wife also lined up some work, so we made it kind of a family trip. We brought our kids out to see my folks because if any of our audience doesn't know, I'm also from New York. So my folks are here. I get to stay with my folks when I come to do shows in New York. And so, yeah, we Lindsay and I, we went to see a Broadway show last night. We saw Moulin Rouge on Broadway.
That's right, I forgot. How was that?
Very good. It's super entertaining. The two leads, their voices are out of this world, but otherwise it's like fluffy and like
doing
shows. I do.
Like when you watch them, do you get the bug to be like, oh shit, I should be up there?
I mean, in terms of like singing, because like I can sing, but seeing a show like that reminded me why I was like, in terms of like singing and doing like musical theater, I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah,
because I have the kind of voice where the way I put it is this. I'm like, I have the kind of singing voice where your grandma thinks I'm a great singer. But trust me, like in that world, I am not a great singer.
Yeah. For those that don't know, Mikey
is
his fair share of acting in a bunch of different plays.
Yeah. And then I caught the, combat sports fandom bug, and I decided to take my talents on over to this world.
Right.
And it's been going pretty well. Sometimes I'm surprised, and I'm very glad, because there's fucking millions of actors and singers out there with better voices than me. And I'm just glad that there aren't way more dudes who look better than me and sound better than me who aren't also wanting to be a ring announcer. So
that's you, dude. That's where you're supposed to be. You have found where you're supposed to be.
So yeah, Moulin Rouge, awesome show. The leads, great singers. Not life-changing theater. It's kind of fluffy. I never saw the movie actually way back when. So I didn't realize that it's like a review of like all of pop music and love songs and stuff like that. So kind of silly.
Yeah, no, I've never seen it either. I have no idea.
Fun night of theater. Anyway. Oh, really? We're here to talk about some MMA, Mark. Going to be a two-man show. I don't think you and I have ever done a two-manner.
We haven't.
We've never done it, Mark.
This is the first. And I do have something I gotta talk on here for a minute.
Before we get into fight talk, let's run that. Yeah. The floor is yours.
First off, for those who don't know, we got quite a reaction, quite the amount of views on our clip talking about Dricus du Plessis' win over Robert Whittaker last week. So first off, shout out to everyone in South Africa who watched this clip. I think we're at 3.2K views currently on this clip, which for us is awesome. So thank you to everyone from South Africa. Thank you to everyone who commented. The passion that you guys have for your country and for Dricus was like palpable from these comments. So that was awesome. And even thank you to all the haters, because it was quite the amount of hateful comments. We appreciate those too. I'm sure those drove a lot of the views. But I'm going to briefly address a few things, because I love the debate. I love, plenty of the comments I was starting to answer. You can hate on us all you want. We'll answer them. I love that. What I don't love is the people who who pretend we said things that we never said just because they want to hear themselves talk on the internet. I know this is the world we live in now, but I'm going to address really quickly. Firstly, we all said Dricus had the right to say what he said about being the first fighter to win a belt who's truly fighting out of Africa. All we said was that we knew Izzy would be offended by it, and we were right. So I'm not sure what we're getting shit about in that regard because we literally agreed with you guys. Secondly, we never once said that Izzy and Usman and Ngannou returning for a parade with the belt was comparable to Dricus winning it when actually living and fighting out of Africa. Never came out of our mouths. So a bunch of comments saying, I can't believe you guys would say those are the same thing. We literally never said that. And finally, the main point I want to get to here. Never at any time did any of us say that Dricus was a bad fighter or that he lucked into his wins. We said his technique is not the highest level, which is not really an arguable point. That's a fact, that he doesn't have the prettiest technique and he relies on other things. But never did we say he was bad or that he lucked into any wins. You can go back and listen to the episode when he debuted, where I talked about what a factor he would be in this division, where I talked up his win over Roberto Soldic and told everyone to watch out for him and that he'd rise up the ranks. You can go back and see how I have picked him to win every single fight up to this point until he hit Robert Whittaker. And then you have people now saying, oh, you know, our fight knowledge got exposed and don't come here for these guys' fight picks because you see how wrong they are and yada, yada. And this is why I started on this, because these type of comments got me curious. And we don't claim to be any experts on this show. We're just, you know, fight fans who like to talk about fights, and we do our best to give you guys some good info and make some picks. But I read these comments saying, oh, don't come here for these guys' advice. They got exposed. They don't know anything. And it got me thinking. So, since you should avoid us and our knowledge of fight picks, I was curious. I went on Bloody Elbow. Super popular website. Ton of MMA fans frequent this website because I know they do a thing called staff picks, where they have their whole staff pick every fight every week. 13 staff members. And they have a leaderboard all year long. You know what percentage their year-long leader has hit at? 59%. You know what percentage I'm at this year? 64. Uh-oh. And that's every fight. You want to say, oh, Mark, we can't fact check that because I track this myself. We can only use the ones you say on the show. Fine. I'm at 61% on the show. So I'd still be leading Bloody Elbow. You know what this guy is at? On here with me? 65%. He'd be slaughtering Bloody Elbow. So, you know, for guys who don't know anything and who are just on here talking and should be avoided, I think we're doing all right. So your comments took me down a rabbit hole. I saw some results that said, huh, and I figured I'd share those results. So now we can move on.
Dude, I didn't know that. Dude, we should get hired at Bloody Elbow like today.
Thank you. We would be in
Have
first
you ever seen those like those
over
like
13 people?
We would be. What is Omar? Just wondering.
He would have been
Did
like
you also
fifth
tally his
or sixth. I did. He was like fifth or sixth.
Okay.
He wasn't on top of the pack like you and I.
I didn't see this. Does Bloody Elbow do their staff pick every single fight of every card, or just like they pick main events and overall?
They pick every fight of every card. Lately, they have started putting like the undercard behind a paywall or something. I don't know. It's their site changed a little bit lately, but yeah.
So, you know, in terms of the feedback that we get, I mean, on the one hand, if it's like a nameless, faceless person who's commenting on our account and is saying something just like unnecessarily mean, and if it's like the guy's account is just like a word and like it's the picture is like not of a person, I'm not going to really care about it. I'm with you though. Like when guys like, when they say shit that we didn't say, it's just it's confusing. It's a little confusing, and it's just like, man, the internet and comment sections on social media, and I kind of consider YouTube kind of social media-esque. It's just like a dark place. Oh, yeah. It can just be a dark place, and it is what it is. People get passionate, and people just they act and say things on social media and on the internet that they would never even think to say in real life. And that I'm not calling anybody out and calling somebody a tough guy. I'm just like, that's just a fact. This is true. When it comes to Dricus, let me just try to bring this back here. Just thinking about, because I went back and I listened to us. I'll say personally, I'll speak for myself. Because I'm a ring announcer and now I work in combat sports, you know, I'm sometimes now doing cooler and cooler things, and I'm rubbing elbows with the Anthony Pettises, and I fucking met John Jones, and I'm doing some cool shit. I'm going to be meeting Rich Franklin in September at an event. So when I'm on here, and I'm always a little, to be quite honest with you, Mark, I don't always love making fight picks myself. And part of the reason why I don't give as thorough a breakdown is because I don't want to be construed as like calling somebody trash on here, and then a year from now I wind up like, you know, announcing somebody's teammate and they're there.
Totally.
And
totally.
You know,
I even try to not.
You just never know.
Omar does.
And Omar does. Omar calls Dricus's. Omar calls people pillow hands. I'm like, dude, you gotta calm down.
Yeah.
But I think you know what I'm saying. That like, because
yes.
now I'm kind of a part of the world of combat sports.
Totally,
and let me tell you this: it is a small fucking world. It's a small world. So I try to make picks cautiously. You know, we just give a lot of respect to everybody. So with that being in mind, listening back to last week's episode, I understand how some of what we said about Dricus and his approach to the fight and his skill set, some of what some of us said, including myself, could have been taken as a compliment insult. Kind of, we're saying he's very good, but we don't know why he's very good. He has an awkward style. I can understand how some people would take that as sort of a backhanded compliment, and I don't mean it that way at all. And I'll say it right here: Dricus is great. He's proving himself to be great.
He's the number one middleweight in the world.
Whitaker.
Like, I didn't think we had to.
He just took him out. He didn't even beat him in a decision. He finished him in the second round.
Yes, it's
Oh my
I didn't think
God.
we had to be like, in case people don't know, he's very good at fighting. Like, no fucking shit. Oh man.
Anyway, okay, let's move on with this show. This show we're going to talk about all of the fights from this past weekend's UFC Fight Night. Holm versus Bueno Silva. We're going to throw some of the fights into our lightning round, or I think we're going to call it our prelim notes, which I actually really like. We're going to find out who rose and who fell in Mark's very own rankings system, which he maintains. Yeah, a little shorter. We're going to find out who rose and fell in Mark's own rankings system, which he keeps himself meticulously, which might help him have a 61% win rate when it comes to picks. And then we're going to look ahead to this coming weekend, UFC Fight Night, Aspinall versus Tybura, the return of Tom Aspinall. And then we're going to have a special guest towards the end here. So before we get into any of that, Mark, let me just quickly do our preamble. Folks, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, hey, thank you so much. If you've been watching our videos and some of our clips and you've been liking our content and you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our channel. It helps us out so much. You never miss a video, and we get the subs and we get the numbers, and the algorithm help drop us the thumbs up and the like. And most of all, given the in the context of what we've just talked about, drop us a comment down below. If you like any of our takes, give us a shout out. If you disagree with any of our takes, let us know down in the comments. We love that thoughtful discussion. Hey, if you want your audio, we got you there. You can find us wherever you get those podcasts. And, of course, find us on social media at @andnew_MMA show. Okay. All that aside, let us get into this. This week, the name on the marquee has got to be Mayra Bueno Silva, who this past weekend at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada, defeated the great Holly Holm by submission via ninja choke. The official time, 38 seconds of round number 2. Mark, give us your take on how this fight played out and the finish of Bueno Silva, the biggest win of her career thus far.
Man, this was something from Mayra Bueno Silva, man. All it took was one opening, and this fight was over. And in the first round, Holly came out looking good. You know, she landed a lot of clean shots in the first minute or so. Then she went to her safe space in the clinch, where she always kind of does well to control the fight. And that's really what you could see the game plan was for her. Mayra was trying to walk her down and kind of get into that boxing range, but Holly was just continually keeping it outside range, winning at range, and then clinching anytime it got close. And it was working for a bit there. And as we got later into round 1 and into round 2, you could tell Silva was starting to get that range down a bit more. She'd land one big one before Holly grabbed her now. So she was getting a little more comfortable stepping into that range, and then boom. Next thing you know, she just freaking sneaks a ninja choke in. It's tight immediately. She has a squeeze on her. We know this, so Holly wasn't going anywhere. And she had to tap, and it's over just like that. So a monster breakthrough win for Mayra Bueno Silva, a girl who was borderline ranked off and on at 125. I think she did crack the rankings at one point, but may have even fallen back out. And now she has moved up to 135 and become a top-of-the-line contender who may even be fighting for a title at this point.
Pretty much. And that can happen on the women's side. You're string together some wins pretty much in any of the weight classes on the women's side, and you might be finding yourself in a title conversation very, very quickly in your career. So all power to Mayra Bueno Silva. I got to say, she looked, at this weight class, she looked strong in there with Holly Holm. What did I say? Buena?
Yeah.
What? Oh, my bad. Yeah, I thought she looked, for the weight, I thought she looked big. I thought she looked really strong against Holly. And once she cinched in that choke, it was game over in the second round. Early in second round, too, man.
Yep.
So that was nasty. It's called a ninja choke. Was it also called a standing guillotine or something like that?
That's how they announced it. To me, it was a ninja choke. But yeah, they announced it as a standing guillotine.
Okay. Nasty stuff, man. Nasty stuff.
Yeah.
So you alluded to that she might be marching up to a title shot relatively soon. Who do you see next as being her opponent at women's bantamweight?
So it's kind of like we got this
title
three-headed
shot right away.
Now. It's kind of like we got this three-headed monster now in the picture for the title shot at 135 with Amanda gone, because you have Juliana Pena, of course, you have Raquel Pennington, and now thrust right into this picture, you have Mayra Bueno Silva. So I don't know what route they're going to go. Obviously, the move is to pair up two of those girls. To me, Pena and Pennington is what feels like it should be the title fight. I just feel like they, as much as this was a huge win for Silva, I feel like Pena and Pennington have done more on their resume and deserve the chance to be the first post-Nunez champ before Mayra Bueno Silva steps in there. So I would like to see that. I don't know if that means Silva just waits. The only other thing I could think of is if she fought Irene Aldana. It doesn't really feel like she should have to, but like if she was wanting to stay active and it did end up being Pena and Pennington, then I guess they could go that route. But we'll see, what they decide to do booking-wise here.
What about the preacher's daughter, Holly Holm? What do you see next as being for her next opponent at women's bantamweight?
So I actually got to check something. Usually I check this stuff pre-show, but I had a fucking crazy day of work today. What I am checking... Wow, if my internet ever wants to work. What I'm checking is if Miesha Tate is booked, because I cannot recall whether she is. Wow, my internet is terrible. What is going on? She's not. So, yeah, that's where I'm going to go. I think this would be a very fun time for a rematch between Miesha Tate and Holly Holm. Obviously, Miesha memorably defeated her the first time for the title, right? Yeah, that was the title fight. Yes, that was when Miesha won the title. Yeah. And I think this is the perfect time for a rematch. Holly's on a little bit of a skid. Miesha's on a little bit of a skid. They both need a big win to kind of try to get themselves back in the picture here, and I think that's the best way to go about it.
That's a great idea. Ooh, love that. I mean, that's a fight night headliner right there, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Holm and Tate 2. I like that a lot.
Yep, agree.
All right. Congrats to Mayra Bueno Silva. biggest win of her career. Second round finish over the preacher's daughter, Holly Holm. My goodness, what a nasty choke that was. All right, moving right along, Mark, to the co-main event of this UFC Fight Night, once again at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. In the welterweight division, Della Maddalena gets it done on the scorecards by split decision over Bassil Hafez. The scorecards read 29-28, two of them in favor of Della Maddalena, and Hafez earning his own 29-28. So first of all, who did you have winning this fight? Live, my heart was racing for JDM, wanting him to get this done and continue to march up the welterweight rankings here. So what would you take?
What a friggin' crazy fight this ended up being, man. We're all thinking JDM is getting a walk and he's going to show off again, late notice replacement, and we get one of the best fights on the whole card. I mean, but what is it? Bassil? Is that how he was saying his first name? I'm forgetting now if they were saying Bassil or Bassil. But Hafez, I'll say, absolutely showed up and gave everything he had to get this win, and he almost friggin' did it. But he did not.
He did.
And to me, it's not really debatable. I don't think he won this fight. I saw a million people online, fighters included, tweeting about Hafez getting robbed and he won and blah, blah, blah. He did not win. He won round one, that's for sure. But from that point on, he kind of got his ass beat. Like, yes, he was standing his ground and throwing back, and that was admirable, and that was a big part of the reason he was able to stay in this fight and continue to find takedown entries, because he was not being backed away or scared away by what Jack was throwing at him. He was willing to bite down and stand his ground and throw back, and that was that countering was allowing him to get inside for his entries on his takedowns. So props to him for that. And yes, he did accrue some more time, specifically in round two, where he was on top. But you don't get much for taking a guy down and laying on him, especially not when he just fed you a casual 20-piece before you took him down, where about 10 of those 20 were snapping your head back. And then, yeah, you took him down, you were on top of him for 2 minutes, but nothing happened in those 2 minutes. So, you know, I can't see scoring that round any other way. All the damage went to Jack. And obviously no one's debating round three. It's round two that's up in the air. So to me, it was clearly a Jack round. But then to top off the fact that Jack won round two, he may have even won round three 10-8, because that round was an absolute beating where he was teeing off on Hafez. So, you know, he fought admirably. He almost pulled off something crazy, but he didn't. And that's okay. It was short notice. He was fighting a great fighter in Jack. He'll be back. He'll have another chance. And it doesn't have to be anything more complicated than that. It doesn't have to be that he got robbed. You know, Jack, yes, he showed some holes with his takedown defense early. He did seem to shore those holes up as the fight went on. He did show off his hands, as he always does, and he earned the win. So we'll see if this ends up just being a little blip in Jack's story, or if other wrestlers are going to have more success than we realized against him. But on this night, he did enough to get the W. And for what it's worth, sorry to cut you off. I had one other thing I wanted to say. Of the experts on MMA decisions, I'm going to do a little math right quick. 17 out of 19 scored it for Jack. So that is really? That.
Wow.
Yes, and of the public, only 15% scored it for Hafez. 85% scored it for Jack.
Really? Wow. That's actually a little surprising to me. Just because I thought that with the 10-point must system and those first two rounds, Jack continued to try to be a well-rounded MMA fighter, so I got to give him the props. But it seemed like time after time, when Hafez was going for a takedown, Jack would pull a guillotine. And it's like, all right, well, at some point, if this submission attempt is not happening, this could be losing in the judge's eyes, because it just winds up with him being on his butt or on his back.
Oh, for sure.
With Hafez on top
him round one
for a certain length of time. Yeah. And I thought it kind of kept happening a little too much for comfort in round two. Now, if this was pride scoring, I think this goes without being said. If this was pride scoring or whole fight scoring, there can be no doubt whatsoever that Jack Della Maddalena kind of fucked him up throughout that fight, especially in that third round. Like you said, the third round could have been 10-8. And I don't think any judge gave him a 10-8 for that round.
I just closed it, but I can go back and see. Hold on. Nope, none did.
But dude, even in that third round, when he could have finished him, but then like one last time, I think with a couple minutes left, Hafez tried to go for that takedown, I think, and I think Jack like one last time like tried to go to the back or something like that. Like everyone in the stadium and everyone who was watching was all groaning like, no, just like let him stand up. You're going to finish him in like 20, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I think he wound up on his back one more time. So
yeah.
I was very happy though that Jack got out of there. I think you're right. And I've always been one who's like takedowns with nothing after it, I think should count for shit. But man, Hafez, he showed out, dude.
Yeah,
for the weight class, stout, strong guy, fucking great chin. Oh my god. And he went toe to toe with one of the best rising prospects at welterweight right now. With that being said, let's talk about that prospect being Jack Della Maddalena and where he should go from here, in your opinion. If you were the matchmaker of the UFC, who are you giving Jack to next?
I kind of think I'm just going right back to Sean Brady. I mean, it was an interesting booking. Most of the other welterweights are booked up. You know, I guess some of these are going to happen pretty soon, so you could see who wins and loses these fights. But to me, I think it's very easy to just go right back to that Sean Brady fight, and Jack asked for the same thing.
Yeah, and I mean, given Sean Brady, that would be a lot of the same of this fight. Sean Brady, primarily a wrestler. So Jack's going to be fighting somebody who's going to be trying to take him down pretty much the whole fight.
Yeah, a little more of a grappler
see.
than wrestler, I would say. But yes, point.
Sure.
Point of trying to bring it to the mat remains.
You want to say anything about Mr. Hafez?
Yeah, I debated if we should give him a lower level guy for him to try to show out and get a win as a reward for this. But part of me is like, man, he looks so good. I don't want to just give him someone who's like 0-2 in the UFC, you know? So I was kind of looking through. And how about someone like a Wellington Turman? I think could be an interesting clash to gauge where Hafez is truly at.
Sure. Jack lives to fight another day. And now let's keep marching down this card. Okay, fun one. Banger in the lightweight division. Did not disappoint. Francisco Prado gets it done over Ottman Azaitar by TKO in the very first round, the official time 4:05 of round number 1. What did you make of the finish with Azaitar pleading to the ref that he was actually giving him a double thumbs up while he was getting rocked in the face? What did you think about that stoppage and the performance overall by Prado?
Yeah, overall, I don't think any of us thought that was getting out of the first round. I think we all said that last week, and it did not. Those two throw heat, and Prado got the better of it. He kind of looks like a mini Drew Dober in there to me. I don't know if you were getting that at all.
Sure.
But, he landed the beautiful spinning elbow. He cut Ottman bad. And I thought the stoppage was fine. I know it looked kind of weird, and Ottman had these thumbs up there, but he was getting rocked clean and often. So I almost feel like it was one of those where, like, I get it, the thumbs are up, but it's just repeated clean, and the ref is seeing that. And it's hard for him to be like, all right, well, this guy's thumbs are in the air, so I'm just going to let him keep eating these clean. So I don't know. I mean, it's a weird one because, like, a thumbs up is a fucking thumbs up. So it's like, would you like it to maybe have gone on a little more? I guess so, but I didn't hate it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. It was kind of like when guys turtle up and then they kind of protest. It's like, well, dude, you picked a bad time to turtle up. And it's like you picked a bad time to give double thumbs up as you were getting grounded, pounded into dust.
Yeah.
Like, let me defend myself with my hands. And then And then instead of defending with my hands, you use my hands to just eat a few more shots.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird.
So
but it was a good performance from
fighter might have
Prado,
said
man.
that to him.
He's Prado's an interesting guy to watch going forward. I mean, he's only 21 years old. He's got some talent.
Dude, he's so young.
Yeah.
Beautiful spinning back elbow that began that finishing sequence. I think it was the second time that he landed that in the fight. So, yeah, both of these guys are very strong lightweights who both throw heat and have a ton of finishes on their record. I have to look from last week's notes that I took, but I think Prado has all of his fights were by finish, or maybe that was Azaitar. Either way, both of these guys have a lot of knockout finishes, so the fight did not disappoint. Sometimes the fight on paper is what you get in the octagon, and this one did not disappoint.
Yep.
My heart goes out for Azaitar, dude, but we will see him again most likely. Let's talk about, though, his opponent, Francisco Prado, the Argentine. Who would be a fun lightweight opponent for him next? What do you think?
So I'm almost second guessing if I want to change who I was going to say now to move him up a little quicker. My initial thought was Esteban Ribovic, who beat Kamwela Kirk last week.
Ooh. But
I'm so intrigued by Prado that I'm like, man, maybe we give him something a little more fun than that, a little more up the ladder. So now I'm wondering if a John Makdessi is booked, because that would be a pretty fun striking battle and a nice veteran test to really gauge where Prado is at.
Okay.
No, he's not.
Anything you want to add about Ottman? What's up?
No, I mean we can keep it moving.
Want to breeze through it? Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, you're hearing me so delayed. It's
all
tough.
right.
It's wild that it's still so delayed for you when
know.
you're in a wholly different place on a wholly different computer.
Yes. All right. In the middleweight division, Park Jun-young defeated Albert Duraev by submission via rear naked choke in what was a bit of a war between these two big boys. What did you think about the performance by the Iron Turtle?
I liked it, man. It was I almost picked him. I went the other way. I'm pissed at myself for not trusting Park. But it was a good one. Albert Duraev came out swinging leather here. It was definitely the most aggressive we've seen Duraev, and he kind of alluded to that. I was hearing him talk before the fight where he was like, I'm going to show things I haven't shown. And he tried, and I think it threw Park off his game a bit early. Plus, he had to eat some shots. But he did really well just to kind of try to settle in behind the jab and work off that in contrast to the winging shots that Duraev was throwing at him. And he managed to bloody Duraev's nose and then jumped a nasty guillotine late in the round that looked about as tight as you could get. I couldn't believe Duraev survived that. And he seemed like he was fine throughout, too. And then round two again, Duraev comes out hard. Then he gets the takedown, but through it all, Park is just calm. He's working out of bad spots, and his pressure never stops either. And he backed Duraev up. He walked him into a couple huge shots, and he patiently hunted the neck until he got it. So a very nice statement for Jun-young Park's legitimacy. He's now 7-2 in the UFC, which is a very solid record, and he has some great dance moves as well.
He does. He does. I love the variety that now we have a South Korean middleweight who is sort of marching up into the division here. Like you said, 7-2 in the UFC now, 17-5 overall as a pro. Very respectable record. Now he's notched 4 wins consecutively in the UFC over Eric Anders, Joseph Uglyman Holmes, Dennis Tululin, and now Albert Duraev. That being said, given those names are now on his belt, who do you think he should fight next?
I'd like to see him get a bump up. I mean, it's 7-2 is 7-2. I understand he's got a loss to Gregory Rodriguez, who ended up being beaten by Bruno Ferreira and kind of has moved down the line a little bit. But his other loss is Anthony Hernandez, who we know is a beast. Wait, I'm sorry. Did I just read that properly? Yeah, Anthony Hernandez. Sorry. And for a sec, I thought I couldn't read. So yeah, 7 wins. I feel like he deserves a shot to move up the line here. So I will say, how about we put him across from Edmund Shabazian?
Oh, baby. I like that. I like that quite a bit. All right. I mean, this basically, even though she was not one of the headliners, this was basically a Norma Dumont card. In the women's featherweight division, Norma Dumont defended her territory by defeating Chelsea Chandler by unanimous decision. All 3 judges saw it the same way, 30-27. Also, this fight giving us one of the most memeable moments in recent memory, which we can talk about a little bit. Give us your assessment, though, of Norma getting another nice W.
Yeah, she does it again, man. Chelsea Chandler was an interesting opponent. She's very strong. She brings pressure, and she's good at uglying the fight up, and she certainly tried to do that here. But Norma was just a level above the whole fight. The counters were too good. The right hand landed a ton for her. She mixed in some big leg kicks, and then she always had the takedown to turn to whenever she wanted to. Anytime the pressure got a bit more than Dumont wanted it to be, she just changed levels and bring it to the mat. So it was a really nice, well-rounded performance for Norma. Yet another featherweight W to the resume. And, as you said, she hit Chandler so hard at one point that she made Chandler turn and sprint across the cage, which was a first for me. I don't think I've ever seen that.
I mean, I got to imagine in real time that I felt like Chandler was just trying to, she got rocked and she said, I got to reset on my terms and just
100%.
Take 2 steps.
Yeah.
I'm going to take 2 steps away from her, but then next she's it turned into 4 or 5 steps. That was like a run. And she ran straight to the cage. It was a very interesting moment that must have happened just so... Probably you think it happened slow for her or fast? I think slow.
I don't. Anyway. I think she probably ended up on the other side of the cage, and she was like, "Wow, I'm all the way over here, huh?"
Right. Oh shit, she's still right behind me. God damn it. Yeah. Norma was just better pretty much everywhere. She was. She had just overall better striking technique. I think she had much faster hands. Even though she was giving up quite a bit of size, I don't think she gave up much strength at all. And she was better on the ground. So it was just, it was her night. Chelsea Chandler, she has a nice skill set and good attributes, I think, for the division anyway. And I look forward to seeing her back in the cage at 145. But for now, Norma Dumont rolls on here. Now notching 3 wins in a row. So she's on a nice little win streak once again. Her record now stands at 10-2. I'm still looking for that first Norma Dumont knockout. She has yet to win a fight by knockout or TKO.
Yeah, no.
That being said, who do you think could be her next opponent at women's featherweight here, which is a little bit of a thin division, always has been. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's tough to say because there's no one in the division other than Danielle Wolf, who she just beat, and Chelsea Chandler, who she just beat. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to try to convince her to come down to 135. I don't know if that's even possible for her. I don't know if they're going to sign someone from outside and try to make a title fight at 145 for obviously the vacant belt. I know she was mentioning Germaine Durandame, saying she wishes she would come back and they could fight for the belt. I know Durandame had a kid. I'm not sure if she's even been training, so I don't know if that's even realistic at all to be asking for. I don't know. I mean, maybe they take someone from bantamweight who's kind of, stuck waiting for other fights to play out. Like, say, Ketlen Vieira wins this weekend. Maybe they're like, Ketlen Vieira, we're not sure what to do with you. Do you want to fight Norma Dumont at 145 pounds? Like, maybe something like that happens. I don't know. It's a big mess, and we still don't really know how the UFC is going to handle this 145-pound thing now that Amanda Nunes no longer exists in the division.
And the UFC has removed the women's featherweight division from their website rankings. So it's just kind of like, it almost feels like these are exhibitions at some point.
Yeah, it's strange.
So,
it's definitely strange. She's got to feel like even weirder. Like, she's probably like, what is happening?
Yeah, of course. I mean, she's like, I'm winning, so job security must be pretty good. How tall is she? Is she tiny? Is she short? I feel like she's tiny.
Yeah, she's not too tall. I know that for a fact. I want to say like 5'8". I'm looking it up right now.
Oh, that's Norma?
5'7".
It's tall for any. She's 5'7". Oh wow, I thought she was much shorter.
Dude, featherweights are
She's
generally
gotta get to
taller than that. Women's
135.
featherweights.
That's true. She's got to get to 135, bro. It would be so interesting to see her at 135.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It makes you wonder because, like, she did lose to Macy Chasson. Granted, Macy's very big, and when she was able to be up at 145, she was definitely a handful. So, like, it makes you wonder where she would really slide into that women's bantamweight division. I don't know that I think she is at the tippity top of it, which I think maybe is why she's like, nah, let me fight for a 145 title. But, you know, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. All right, moving on. Lightweight division opening up the main card for this UFC fight night. In the lightweight division, Nazim Sadykhov gets it done over Terrance McKinney by submission via rear naked choke. The official time, 1 minute and 7 seconds of the second round. Give us your take on the performance of, am I saying his name right? Sadykhov?
Yep.
Sadykhov?
I think it was Sadykhov.
And
yeah, now you're making me wonder too. Shit.
Always with the Slavic names.
I forget how they were saying it.
And also a lot has been said about the fence grabs that kind of led into that sequence that ultimately finished with the rear naked choke.
Yeah. So I think a few things are noteworthy here. I think McKinney losing again is just as newsworthy as Sadykhov winning. And then the fence grab is kind of its own deal as well. So I'll say for Sadykhov, tough first round, of course, but he did well to defend and then just immediately turned things around in round two. He made McKinney uncomfortable on the feet with his pressure. He won the scrambles, and then he trapped McKinney's arm to choke him out. So really well done there. That was a tough spot for McKinney with his arm trapped behind his back there. Thankfully, his arm did not get hurt in any way. As for McKinney, I think we're learning that he's a little bit of a glass cannon type of fighter. He has a ton of offensive skills. He can wrestle. He can grapple. He's got knockout power. We've seen the great finishes. But defensively, there are a lot of openings, and guys are finding them these days. So Terrance McKinney he's going to have to find a way to shore these holes up if he's ever going to deliver truly and completely on the offensive skills that he has, because they are many. But, dudes are finding ways to get him out of there lately. So he's going to have to work on that. But a really solid and legitimizing win for Sadykhov. And then as for the fence grab, I didn't even notice it live, to be honest. I only noticed it when Terrance McKinney tweeted about it. And I get his point. You know, it's hard to tell if maybe he would have been able to scramble out of that spot without the fence grab. It's hard to tell how significant it really was in that spot in terms of allowing Nazim to stay on top of him. So, yeah, it sucks. I mean, it's part of the sport, unfortunately, that these things happen and don't get caught at times. Seems like it's happening more and more that fence grabs don't get caught. But yeah, definitely, I feel for McKinney in that.
They don't get caught, and it seems like they don't get penalized as they should sometimes. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, his 3 losses, Terrance McKinney, his record in the UFC is now 500 record, so he's 3-3 in the UFC. He's lost 3 of his last 4. But those losses were to 3 very good lightweights. Drew Dober, Ismail Bonfim, and now Nazim Sadykhov. So Sadykhov gets another feather in his cap, and he marches up the lightweight rankings, Mark. Who do you see being his next opponent?
So I will actually say Ismail Bonfim. Sometimes
let's go.
sometimes I try to stay away from matching two up-and-coming guys against each other, but I just think that is a really intriguing and fun fight. They obviously both have the win over McKinney. That's where I'll go.
I get you. Sometimes it can be nerve-wracking when two risers, two up-and-comers face each other, kind of like when Sarukian and Gamrot face each other. It's like, God. But then you also get the feeling that it's like these two guys may very well face each other again one day.
Yeah.
So it's all right.
Agree.
All right, let's toss the rest of these fights, or a select number of them from the prelims of this UFC Fight Night, into something like a lightning round. Let's call it Prelim Notes. So, what do you want to start with? Vieira?
So are you going to touch on some of these as well, or is this me kind of just rattling off any thoughts I have?
Oh, I can touch on them too, yeah. I can touch on them too.
All right, would you like to start on something that you'd like to note?
Let's start with the featured bout with Melsik Baghdasaryan and Tucker Lutz. It was, I thought, a great fight. Two tough guys, but I thought Baghdasaryan was just better everywhere. Great hand speed, great kicking speed from Baghdasaryan, and I'm looking forward to what he's got next at featherweight.
Yeah, I agree. I thought this fight showed nice growth from Melsik because we know what a nasty striker he is. He's a high-level striker. The question was, in this one, was whether or not the wrestling could guide Lutz to a win. And it easily could have if Melsik didn't battle out of some of the tough spots and battle to take back rounds after being taken down the way that he did. But he did, and he was able to pull away more in the striking as the fight went on, too. So it was nice to see that from him, some good progression as he kind of works his way up here.
Yeah, just prior to the Baghdasaryan Lutz scrap was one of the more gruesome arm injuries that I've seen in MMA. In the women's strawweight division, Victoria Dudakova defeated, it counts as her winning the fight. She defeated Estela Nunes by TKO via arm injury at 34 seconds into the very first round. Hate to see it. Up until that point, it's too little time had gone by to really feel like either woman was pulling away or defeating the other one. But Dudakova, she got a single leg and kind of whipped her around, and Estela Nunes came down at an awkward angle, posting on, I think, her left arm, and her elbow just completely snapped out of the socket. I think it seemed like it was a pretty clean, like a dislocation, and I think they popped it right back in at the hospital. So thank God, but scary stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that was awful to watch. It's crazy that they were able to just pop that right back in. But, yeah, that was a bad one. I mean, completely dislocated. She's, like, legit yelling in pain. It was tough. And it sucked, too, because I've always liked her striking a lot. She's 0-3. Now she's 0-4 in the UFC. So I was surprised she got a fourth chance after being 0-3. Now, does she get a fifth chance? Like, you'd kind of hope so. If they were going to give her a fourth, why not a fifth now? Because this wasn't her fault. But I've always liked her striking so much that I was like, man, I wish she could get a win and hang around. The problem is the ground. And here, I mean, my God, the second it hit the ground, it went south for her. So, you know, this sucked. Didn't learn a thing about Dudakova, so we'll see what she brings next time out. But, yeah, just right. a brutal dislocation.
Yeah, man. Speaking of somebody being better just about everywhere, in the featherweight division, Melquizael Costa defeated Austin Lingo by UD, 2:30-27s and 1:30-26. Man, Melquizael Costa, man, he looked great over, I'll say, got to give him his props. Austin Lingo, very tough guy. He hung in there with a Brazilian fighter who was much more athletic, just better overall on the feet, better striking technique. And he was lucky he didn't get finished. What do you think?
Yeah, Costa's pretty good, man. He delivered on what he showed signs of in his debut against Moises. He switches stances with ease. He keeps the pressure. He varies the attacks and the levels of the attacks. He's a fun guy to watch. He landed about a jillion body kicks. I actually thought he was going to get Lingo out of there in round one at one point. But Lingo had zero thoughts of quitting, so give him credit for that. But a nice showcase for Costa. The dexterity with the kicks is really notable for him.
Lingo's now 3-2 in the UFC, so hoping that he gets a favorable matchup and then he can stick around because I love his toughness.
Yeah, he's a tough guy.
Let's talk about that lightweight battle between Evan Elder and Genaro Valdez. Elder took it on the scorecards by unanimous decision, 2 29-28 and 1 30-26. What'd you make of that scorecard, Mark?
I thought Elder won every round. I didn't see a 10-8 live. Now, I didn't even realize they scored it at 30-26. It almost makes me want to watch it again. I don't think I caught that when they were reading the scores. I thought Elder won every round. He came out and set the tone here immediately, dropping Valdez in the first 15 seconds. The pace between the two of them never really let up, and Valdez was live with his boxing throughout, and obviously managed to drop Elder pretty bad in round 2. But I do think Elder looked like the more complete fighter and was ahead for most of the fight. I even thought he came back to take that round, at least when I was watching live. But even if he did drop that round, he certainly won the other 2. But yeah, fun fight. Elder earned it. There was no late cut to take it away from him in this one like there was in his last fight against Nazim Sadykhov, where he was up 2 rounds before he got cut and lost that fight. So thankfully for him, he now gets on the board here in the UFC.
Yeah, I thought this was a great fight, and it was great showing for both of these guys. I think Valdez will be back. I think he's also a very talented new lightweight. But Elder showed out, man, and he got that, 130-26. It's funny, too, because if he got a 30-26, why did Jack not get that 10-8 in that third round in the co-main? Come on.
Great point.
Thank you. All right, let's talk about split decision in the flyweight division between Azat Maxim getting the nod over Tyson Nam. What do you think?
So I didn't see these last 3. I don't know if you did. These are the 3 that I told you I was going to watch earlier, and then you had mentioned that we wouldn't go through all the prelims. So I was like, all right, I'll watch them. I'll watch them tomorrow or something. So I still haven't seen these, so I can't really talk on them.
I watched these last 3 quickly, and I'll just say that I thought that Tyson Nam, I thought his boxing was great. I thought these guys were very evenly matched. It was mostly a stand-up battle. I thought that Nam has great technique, but he seemed almost a little too patient, if I can be so bold to say that. He finally caught him, I think, in the third round, but it was too little too late. So, yeah, Maxim is just more aggressive, and it paid dividends overall, and he got the nod on 2 scorecards. Munoz also, that was a lightweight bout that looked like a middleweight bout. It was like Jesus, these 2 guys are lightweights. They moved kind of like middleweights. They both were like bigger guys. Munoz was also better just about everywhere, but I thought he was also very, very patient. He finally dropped Deaton in the third round, and he did his best to go for the finish, but trying to pound him out, but did not get the stoppage, but he did get the win on the scorecards. And then in the women's bantamweight division, notice to the bantamweight division, a new contestant has entered the arena. Alin Perez absolutely beat the brakes off of Ashley Evans-Smith from bell to bell, and very much looking forward to her next outing. With that being said, let's put a bow on this one. Marching right along, Mark, let us know who rose and who has fallen in your very own rankings system that we call on this show the Priaulx Rankings.
Okay, so yeah, we have a few notable risers this week. 5 risers and 1 faller. I'll do the faller first. The faller's Terrance McKinney. It's not a huge tumble, but he falls from number 24 to number 27 in my lightweight rankings. He's a guy who was previously up at about 20. So definitely moving back down the list a little bit here. So he's my number 27 lightweight now. And then to the risers, we'll work up the card from bottom. The man you just mentioned, Azat Maxim, was his debut here, so he was obviously not ranked. He beats Tyson Nam, so he slots in as my number 18 flyweight right out of the gate, so nice start for him. Melquizael Costa was my number 66 featherweight, gets the win, jumps up 22 spots. He is now ranked at number 44 for me at featherweight, so nice start for him. Obviously, his His debut loss was up a weight class at lightweight. So far he's 1-0 in his actual division here. Next man, Melsik Bagdasaryan. Not as big a jump as Costa got, but he goes from number 60 to number 49 in my featherweight rankings.
Wow.
And then the huge jump of the card, Nazim Sadykhov. He was 1-0. He beat Evan Elder. He beat him via a cut in a fight maybe he was not winning. He now beats Terrance McKinney. Goes from number 73 to number 26 in my lightweight rankings. He is now 2-0 in the UFC, and we will see what he can do next. And then the last one, the obvious one, Mayra Bueno Silva. I had her down at number 10 coming into this fight. She is now number 3 in my women's bantamweight rankings, behind only Juliana Pena and Raquel Pennington.
Very
and
nice.
That is it for the week.
And that is it. If Omar was here, we would be doing Inside the MMA Sphere right now and finding out what's new in the world of MMA outside of the cage. But he's not here because he's sick with a nasty virus. And so if he was here, what do you think what would be like the main headline? We're not totally in the dark. What is there to be talked about?
Did he bring up Ngannou and Fury last week? Was that already booked at that time? I think he did.
It had to have been.
He would have talked about some fight bookings. We got the news of the Abu Dhabi card, which is Islam Makhachev against Charles Oliveira, the rematch. Charles had said that he would not be ready until November. I'm not sure what changed. Could have been money that changed things. But apparently he is now ready for October, so that is the main event in Abu Dhabi. The co-main, surprisingly, is Khamzat Chimaev against Paulo Costa. So we thought Costa was fighting Ikram Aliskerov this weekend, I think that was supposed to be, or next. We thought Chimaev was maybe fighting Cannonier, is what the rumors were saying, and instead, Costa is now moved to this card where he will fight Khamzat Chimaev in the co-main event. And Aliskerov, who Costa was supposed to fight, has also now been moved to that card. He'll be fighting Nasruddin Imavov. And then I believe the last one they announced was Muhammad Makayev getting his kind of real shot against the vet here to actually break through against Tim Elliott. So that's another good one.
Did we talk about these rumors last week of Ronda Rousey possibly making a return?
I believe we did, yes. It seems like they have now been shot down, though.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think, was there any other big fight announcements? Oh, Umar Nurmagomedov fell out against Corey Sandhagen. They were supposed to main event UFC Nashville pretty soon, I think. Is that next week or a couple weeks? So he fell out. Rob Font has stepped in, so that is the new fight there.
No, next week is Poirier Gaethje.
Oh, yeah, right. So I guess it's after that. But yeah, so Rob Font is now in again.
And then that's the week after, though. It's 2 weeks away.
Okay, yeah. So
We're looking for a 2-week-out replacement for that.
Rob Font is it. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, Rob Font stepped in. Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
What an interesting fight.
Yeah, I mean, we still ended up with a good fight. It's maybe not quite as interesting, but solid fight for sure.
Super solid, yeah, man.
I'm trying to think if there are any
Okay.
other notable bookings. Nothing's coming to me. Yeah. Don't think so.
Let's now go into preview mode and talk about this awesome fight night card, which whenever the UFC goes here, it always feels like a pay-per-view. It feels like a little pay-per-view junior. So this coming Saturday at the O2 Arena in London, England, is UFC Fight Night. Aspinall versus Tybura, featuring the return of Tom Aspinall taking on fellow heavyweight Marcin Tybura. Is it Tybura with a liquid U?
Yes, I believe so.
Tybura. All right. Let's see. Let's get into this. Before we talk about our first fight, we're going to talk about first Vieira versus Kianzad. Any other fights or fighters that you want to spotlight for our listeners and viewers?
I'm pulling up my betting odds because I realized I forgot to write them down here. Let's see. So we've tried to narrow this down. It's a 15 fight card. We're going to preview 10 of these, and then we're going to get to our special guest here to talk some boxing. But of the 5 that we are not doing, I will spotlight Yanal Ashmos fighting Chris Duncan. Ashmos had a fantastic knockout in his debut. Chris Duncan is a hometown guy who won his debut as well. That should be a quality fight. And then also Danny Roberts, who's always on these London cards. He'll try to get a W for the hometown crowd. He's fighting and debuting Johnny Parsons.
Okay. That being said, let us first go to where is this fight on this card? I'm looking at the lineup here. In the women's bantamweight division, on the prelims, Ketlen Vieira taking on Pannie Kianzad. Let's cue this up. I apologize if I'm butchering her name. No, MMA truly is a global sport. Ketlen Vieira, obviously the 31-year-old out of Brazil, most recently lost to Raquel Pennington in a split decision. That snapped a 2-fight win streak she had. She's 13-3 as a pro overall, mostly decision wins for her. Let's see. She was standing across from Pannie Kianzad, the 31-year-old, also from Sweden, 16-6. Of her 16 wins, 13 have come by way of decision. And she's coming off of a win against Lena Landsberg. What do you think, Mark? Who do you think is going to take this one, and what's your pick?
So Vieira is the favorite here. She's minus 150. Pannie is plus 130 as the underdog, so pretty close. 1 inch of height and 2 inches of reach on the Vieira side of things. This is a bit tricky because Pannie has looked good, but I can't seem to pick her to beat Ketlen, and I'm not the hugest Ketlen believer, as listeners of this show know, but she's big, she's strong, she controls against the fence well. I think she'll be the one pressuring more successfully. As is always the case with her, the question is, will she be active enough and let her hands go enough to make sure that she doesn't drop rounds and cost herself a decision? But as much as I do also think that Kianzad has some skills and that she's showing improvements fight to fight here, I'm going to say this goes Ketlen's way just off of kind of a little bit of pressure, size, clinch combo. I will say Vieira UD.
I also like Vieira on account that she is for 135. She is a giant at 5'9". That's as pretty much as tall and big as you get at 135 pounds on the women's side of things. And she's also a bit of a legend killer. She has great wins on her resume over Holly Holm, Miesha Tate, Kat Zingano, Sarah McMahon. She has quite a few names on her resume here. I'll roll with her and I'll copy your pick here, UD for Vieira. Okay, let's go to the men's welterweight division with Brian Bam Bam Barberena taking on Mahmoud Muradov. So Barberena, talk about legend killers. Goddamn. The 34-year-old out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. 18-10 as a pro with 11 knockout wins on his record. Trying to get back in the win column, though. After taking out a couple of legends in Matt Brown and Robbie Lawler, he has now dropped 2 to RDA and Gunny Nelson. He will be standing across from Mahmoud Muradov. The 33-year-old out of Uzbekistan, 25-8 as a professional with 17 knockouts, 20 finishes overall on his career. Also coming into this weekend with back-to-back losses and looking to get back into the win column. Last fight he won was against Andrew Sanchez back in January of 2021. Give us your take and your pick, Mark.
Okay, so Barberena moving up in weight here. He is the dog. He is plus 260 taking this middleweight fight. Muradov is a minus 330 favorite. There are going to be 2 inches of height and 3.5 inches of reach for Makhmud Muradov. I don't really get this move for Bryan Barberena. He never really has seemed like he struggles to make 170. He's not the most ripped, shredded welterweight we've ever seen. His frame doesn't scream 185 to me. It's not as if he's moving up to fight some name, where it'd be like, oh, all right, he wants his shot against, whoever it may be. He's moving up to fight Makhmud Muradov, who's kind of a tough test of a guy who hasn't proven all that much yet. So I don't know. It's a weird choice for me for Bryan Barberena. And I think I'm going to go with Muradov. I didn't think he'd be this big of a favorite, but he is. He's another one who I'm not super high on, but between the reach, the size, the grappling ability he can turn to if he's getting hit, I just think that Muradov makes more sense as the pick here. He'll exchange on the feet. Barberena will be feeling some middleweight power, but even if it's not going well and Barberena does start to kind of do what he does and accumulate some shots, and it's not like he's a one-hitter quitter either, so he's not gonna flash Muradov with one. It's an accumulation. So if it ever started going that way, I think Muradov's grappling is good enough that he can lean on that size and strength advantage that he's going to have and bring the fight to the mat and win it there. So I will say Makhmud Muradov, UD.
Do we know why Bryan Barberena is moving up to middleweight?
I don't. I have not heard any explanation.
I think this is going to be a weird fight. I think he's a bit of a weird fighter. Here we go again. Given his skill set, he's a brawler with a tremendous chin. I mean, his head is made of fucking granite, this guy. Yes. But I think it's gonna be a you're gonna learn today kind of fight for Bryan Barberena going up to middleweight, which is a 15-pound jump in weight, as we know. Yeah. And like you said, he's gonna taste the middleweight power from a big Uzbek. So with that being said, I think Bryan Barberena is going to get finished in this fight. He's going to take a lot of damage. He doesn't have the best head movement. He likes to absorb blows, and I think Muradov is going to find that skull and clang his fists off it a bunch of times. I'm going to take a late fight finish for Muradov. I'll say round 3 TKO.
Like it.
Okay, going to the what is this fight? Is this lightweight? Okay. We have Mark Bone Crusher Jacasey taking on Joel Alvarez. So Jacasey, the hometown boy here at the O2 Arena in London. Bone Crusher, 30 years old, out of Yorkshire. Doncaster, South Yorkshire, 16-6 as a professional with 6 knockouts on his record. Looking to get back in the win column after losing decision to the veteran Michael Johnson back in December. He will be standing across from Joel El Fenomeno Alvarez, the 30-year-old out of Spain, 6 feet tall. 19-3 as a pro with 16 submission wins on his record. And he's also looking to get back in the win column after losing a TKO loss at the hands of the rising prospect Arman Sarukian. I will go first this time. I, at one point, was very, very high on Mr. Mark Jacasey. For some reason, I lost a little bit of faith in him. I love his haircut. He's an intimidating looking guy with the red swish going through his hair, and he has a hell of a physique. Truly, probably one of the best physiques in the UFC. That being said, I'm gonna go with the submission artist here, Joel Alvarez. His last loss was at one of the best rising lightweights in the division in Sarukian. Before that snapped a 4-fight win streak in the UFC. So I'm going to go with Alvarez. I say he's going to get it done mid-fight. Give me a second round submission for the Spaniard.
Like it, your man is favored. He's minus 200. Mark Jacasey is a plus 165 underdog at home. There are 5 inches of height and 4 inches of reach on the Joel Alvarez side here. And Mark Chikasi, I agree. He is talented. We've seen how good his striking can be. We've seen how smothering his newfound wrestling skills can be at times. But with all that being said, if Joel Alvarez is the talent that I have thought he was and continue to think he is, and remember, that Arman Sarukian fight, he got cut really bad really early, and it changed the whole fight because he was drowning in his blood. So maybe he loses anyway, but you never know. Joel Alvarez is a skilled dude, and I think that he should beat Mark Chikasi, and I think he should finish Mark Chikasi. He's got the length. He's got the finishing ability everywhere. I don't think Chikasi wants to wrestle with Alvarez necessarily and test that jiu-jitsu game, so I think this probably will play out on the feet unless Alvarez is the one that changes that. But either way, with the reach, I think this one is all Joel. I will say it is a club and sub for him in round 2.
Okay. Let us now go to the men's bantamweight division. This is a bantamweight fight, yeah?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Feature bout on the prelims, I believe. Going down between Davy Dangerous Grant and Daniel Soncora Marcos. So Davy Grant, he's the hometown boy for this one. The 37-year-old fighting out of Bishop Auckland, England. 15-6 as a pro with 4 knockouts and 9 submission victories to his record. He's riding a back-to-back win streak coming into this Saturday night. He will be standing across from a fellow heavy hitter in Daniel Marcos, the 30-year-old out of Peru, Lima, Peru, undefeated prospect, 14-0 with 8 knockout victories and 6 decisions. He won on the Contender Series and then won his UFC debut back in January of this year. I will go first on this one. I have always liked Davy Grant ever since I discovered or was introduced to him on the UFC here. I've always liked his stand-up skills, man. I like his striking a lot. That being said, with 6 losses on his record, I'm going to roll with the undefeated fighter out of Lima, Peru for this one. I'm going to say that Daniel Marcos gets it done. Give me a round 1 knockout for Marcos.
Wow. Okay, I just realized I don't have odds written down for this one. Let me go to them very quick. I don't know why I didn't write it the whole time you were talking. Yeah, Daniel Marcos is the favorite. I'm not super shocked to see that. He is minus 145, and Davy Grant is a plus 120 underdog. The reach is the same here. Davy Grant is 1 inch taller, so nothing too significant. I really hate this booking for Davy Grant. The man is a veteran. He just beat Rafael Assunção in spectacular fashion. He deserved to be rewarded with a fun fight against a known name. And instead he gets Daniel Marcos, who is unknown to the masses, but is really dangerous. So it's a tricky booking here for Davy Grant. And he's known for getting in scraps, so he's going to be putting himself in the danger here. But as much as I acknowledge how live Daniel Marcos is here, I really don't want to pick against Davy Grant in London because I want to see him get this done. And he's one of these guys that hits harder than you realize until he's the one landing on you, I feel. And I think maybe those power shots can edge this, and he can avoid getting finished. I'll roll Davy Grant. Maybe because I hope it happens, but I'll roll Davy Grant 29-28 UD.
All right, in the featherweight division, we have Lerone the Miracle Murphy taking on Joshua Coulibaly. Okay, so Lerone Murphy is the hometown boy for this one. 31 years old, out of Stockport, England. Undefeated, 12-0 with 1 draw, 7 knockout wins. He's coming off of a split decision victory over Gabriel Santos back at UFC 286 in March. And he will be standing across from the very fun Joshua Coulibaly, the 29-year-old out of Sydney, Australia. 11-1 with 1 draw, 5 knockouts on his record, riding a 3-fight win streak. coming into this weekend. Mark, give us your take and your pick of Murphy versus Culibao.
Okay, so we have 1 inch of height on the Culibao side, half an inch of reach for Murphy, so pretty similar in that regard. Lerone Murphy is the favorite. He is minus 150. Josh Culibao is a plus 120 underdog. Lerone Murphy is undefeated and clearly very skilled. But he also feels to me like kind of the undefeated fighter who's due to pick up a loss at this level at some point. Like, I don't think he's that type of undefeated guy that's going to run to a title shot. Like, I feel like he's kind of hit that level now where a loss might come. He's not too dominant. He doesn't come across as an elite talent. He's kind of edged out some of these wins. And now he gets Josh Culibao, who is a dog. He does not stop. He can scramble up. If Murphy tries to out-wrestle him, he'll look for that opportunistic sub. He's fairly dynamic at times on the feet. I think he's very live here to be the guy who beats Lerone Murphy. But all that said, I am very, very torn still because Lerone Murphy is buttoned up. He's clean. He can generally control the fight when needed and have it play out the way he wants. I could easily see him doing just that here and winning a decision. Plus, he's fighting at home. I think probably Lerone Murphy will be winning this fight. And the question for me is more so just whether Culibao can find a big moment that ends it or at least changes it and then swings it toward him for long enough to win it. So I think that in and of itself is somewhat of a coin toss, but I've gone back and forth. I think I am going to land on Lerone Murphy by decision in the end.
Yeah, Joshua Culibao, maybe the most unassuming guy on the UFC roster. Does not at all seem like a fighter or look like a fighter, but the guy can fight. That being said, I'm going to roll with the undefeated guy, Lerone Murphy. I'm just going to keep rolling with him until he loses. He does have a split draw, and his most recent victory was a split decision victory, so he's not untouchable. So he's gotten to this point, 12-0, Culibao 11-1, so very nice matchmaking, by the way. Mwah, chef's kiss for the matchmakers here. I will take Lerone Murphy. I will say he hands Joshua Culibao another knockout loss, his second one of his career thus far. I'll say round 2 TKO for Murphy. Let's see what is next. Let me pull this back up. We have Jai Herbert taking on Fares. How do you say his name?
Fares Ziam.
Ziam, excuse me. Jai Herbert, 35-year-old, out of Midlands, England, 12-4 as a pro with one draw, coming off of a draw with Ludovic Klein back in March of this year. Fares Ziam, Smile Killer, that's a creepy nickname. The 26-year-old out of France, 13-4 with 9 finishes on his record, coming off of a win against Michael. I'm going to butcher this name. Is it Michal Figlak?
I think it was just Figlak
at UFC Fight Night 209. Figlak back in September.
Yeah, I think it was.
Give us your take and your pick.
Okay, so yeah, good one here. Fares Ziam is the favorite at minus 160. Jai Herbert is plus 135. Same height, 2-inch reach advantage for Jai. I like Jai Herbert. I liked him pre-UFC. I think he's had some tough fights in the UFC and is probably better than what his record shows thus far. Problem is, I think Fares Ziam is another tough fight. The kid is good, man. He's well-rounded. He's an athlete. He's super composed in there. He showed a lot of improvement, I thought, in his last fight compared to some earlier ones. I am kind of feeling like he can just outclass Jai by like one baby level here. The thing that gives me pause is that Faresiam is always the longer guy. He's very used to being the longer guy, and he's not here. And Jai Herbert throws bombs, and I could easily see Ziam get caught at range in ways that he's not used to being caught at range. And Jai Herbert has that UK crowd behind him, too. Oh, I'm torn. I might change live what I thought I was going to say. I will say Faresiam wins a decision. But I almost flipped it to Herbert KO.
I like it. No, I like it. I think these guys are going to be very evenly matched. And you know me, I love picking younger guys, eating older guys. But that being said, I don't think Jai Herbert is that old. And I'm going with the hometown boy for this one. I think Jai Herbert, like you said, with the help of the hometown crowd, giving him that energy, I think he gets a UD over the very tough and young Faresiam. Okay, here we go. Paul Craig taking on Andre Muniz. So, Paul Bear Jew Craig, the 35-year-old out of Scotland, 16-6 with one draw, 13 submission victories on his record. Looking to get back to the win column after back-to-back losses at the hands of Volkan Ozdemir and Johnny Walker. He will be standing across from Andre Muniz. Sergio Pano is his nickname. The 33-year-old out of Brazil, 23-5 with 15 submission victories on his record. Also looking to get back in the win column after losing by submission to Brendan Allen back in February. I will go first. This is going to be, I hope it is, a grappler's delight. Both guys are submission hunters, submission experts. That being said, I was quite disappointed in Andre Muniz's last fight. Before that, I had a lot of faith in him. He was riding a long win streak going into that fight, and I thought Brendan Allen really put it on him. And just like in the last fight with Jai Herbert, I'm going to go with the hometown guy here, Paul Craig. I'm not sure if he's going to be the favorite on the betting odds. I'm going to go with the great Scott, who's going to be completely electrified by this crowd. And I'm going to say Paul Craig catches Muniz into submission. I'll say round 3. What do you got, Mark?
I like it. He is almost a 2-1 underdog, Paul Craig. He is plus 185. Andre Muniz is a minus 225 favorite. 2 inches of height for Paul Craig, but 2 inches of reach for Andre Muniz. I cannot fathom that Paul Craig is going to be fighting at middleweight. The dude is such a beast at light heavyweight. I never even imagined that he could go down to 185. I was very caught off guard by this. Granted, Muniz is a big middleweight as well, so I don't expect that Craig is going to look so much bigger than him. I'm not trying to say that. I just never thought I'd see Paul Craig fighting at 185. But with that said, really cool matchup. We have a chance to see a grappling show here, and I hope we get it. Both of these guys will strike. They're not. Neither one's afraid to strike. Craig will even friggin' bang in there, even though his striking is not exactly where he would like it to be. But they are both naturally and instinctively grapplers. So my hope is that has this thing end up on the mat at some point in time, and I think it does get there. And I like Craig more, man. He goes for it. He hunts you. He's a dog. He's a big, strong man. You know, it's possible that Andre Muniz is all these things too, and we just haven't seen that really come out yet. But I haven't liked what we've seen from him in his last couple of fights. And at this point, I think I'd rather be trusting my money on Paul Craig. You know, could we see a fight where maybe Muniz is able to win it in the striking? Because his striking looked much improved in his last fight against Brendan Allen. People forget because of the way that fight ended. But is it possible that he kind of just tries to keep this standing and wins on the feet and doesn't even play around with the bigger man on the mat there and Paul Craig? I guess that is possible, but I'll say Craig finds a way to get it down even if it's going that way, and I will go with Paul Craig by submission in round 3 as well.
Okay. Now we have The featherweight bout between Nathaniel the Prospect Wood and Andre Touchy Feely. Nathaniel Wood, the 29-year-old, out of London, England, 19-5 with 9 knockouts and 5 submissions on his record, coming off back-to-back wins over first Charles Rosa and then Charles Jourdain, back in September. His opponent, Andre Feely, the 33-year-old out of Sacramento, California, 22-9. It's getting late, with 1 no contest, 12 finishes on his record, coming off of a win against Bill Algeo. I'll go first with this one because my take is pretty straightforward. Love Andre Feely, but I think he's a bit of an up-and-down kind of guy. I'm going to roll with who I have to imagine is going to be a heavier betting favorite. Maybe the heaviest betting favorite thus far on this card in Nathaniel Wood. I'll say that Nathaniel Wood gets Andre Feely out of there. I'll say round 2, club and sub.
Okay, so he's not quite as heavy as you thought. He is 2-1. He's minus 210, Nathaniel Wood. Andre Feely is plus 170 as the underdog. And I think the reason it's maybe a little closer than you imagined is because there are 5 inches of height and 5 inches of reach on the Andre Feely side, which is an enormous combination. And Andre Feely's really dynamic. He is really good. He's a dangerous guy. So to have that kind of a size and length advantage is going to be a big feather in his cap coming into this fight. But I, too, am still going to pick Nathaniel Wood. You know, he's got a big hurdle to overcome in terms of dealing with that length that Feely's going to present. But I think he is so damn technical that he can overcome it. I think he's going to rip Andre Feely's legs up from jump, slowly open him up that way. As that adds up, I think he starts to land the straight, maybe mixes in a takedown or two, and just overall becomes the man who's landing cleaner as the fight goes on and as he gets Feely's range and timing down a bit more as he's able to see more of him. So I will say Nathaniel Wood wins it in front of the hometown crowd by UD.
Okay, co-main event time, UFC Fight Night, UFC London 15. I believe, yes, I read this is the 15th visit that the UFC has made to London this Saturday night. In the women's flyweight division, fun one, featuring Molly Meatball McCann taking on Julia Stoliarenko. Molly McCann, the 33-year-old out of Liverpool, 13-5 as a pro, with 6 knockouts on her record. Looking to get back in the win column after losing by Kimura to the rising prospect Erin Blanchfield. She will be standing across from the Lithuanian Julia Stoliarenko, 30 years old, 10-7 as a pro with 2 draws, 9 submission wins on her record. Also looking to get back in the win column after losing to Chelsea Chandler back in October. I'll go first. This one is an easier pick for me to make, I think. Julia Stoliarenko, a lot of red on her record lately. She's a losing record in the UFC. I believe this is her second stint in the UFC. Her first one was just one fight, was a loss. One and done back in 2018. And she's been back since 2020, but she has gone only 1 for her last 5. So this feels like a pretty favorable matchup for Molly McCann, who's a bit of a wrecking ball. She's the hometown girl. And the last few times that Molly McCann has fought for UFC London events, it is just a big block party for Molly McCann. When she wins and wins impressively, the roof blows off the place. She's a bit of a star, especially on her home turf. So I'm going to say Molly McCann wins by TKO. The only question is how many spinning back fists will she throw? I'll say that she starts with something like that and is a bit of a battering ram against Stoliarenko. Gets her out of there. I'll say, you know what? I'll say first round TKO for McCann.
I kind of thought these odds would be wider. McCann is a minus 215 favorite. Stoliarenko is a plus 175 underdog. Another size one that's a bit crazy. 3 inches of height and 7 inches of reach for Julia Stoliarenko. Julia, I should say. So yeah, enormous size advantage for her. But as you said, she is 1-5 in the UFC. She has not looked all that great. Yes, she can catch an armbar. We've seen that. We've seen that in her pre-UFC days as well. Molly will have to be careful of that, but Stoliarenko is being set up here to lose to Molly. I cannot believe this is a co-main event. If you asked me if Julia Stoliarenko would ever be in a co-main event, I would not have believed this. But hey, they want to showcase Molly, and that's what we're going to see. She wins. I'm not sure if she finds a finish because she is also not quite as good as the UFC's marketing wants you to think that she is, but it's very easy to root for Molly. I like her. She has been a magical enhanced version of herself when she's in front of a UK crowd. And I'll say she does it again. I'll say it's another finish. Molly McCann, round 2 knockout.
Okay, main event time, UFC London. Once again, this Saturday night, going down at the O2 Arena in London, England. Headlined by these two gentlemen. In the heavyweight division, Tom Aspinall taking on Marcin Tybura. Tom Aspinall, the 30-year-old out of Manchester, England. His record stands at 12-3. All 12 wins have come by way of finish, 9 of them knockouts. He is looking to get right back in the win column after a 8-fight win streak. Got snapped by a snapped knee. You see what I did there? That was in real time. You like that? He unfortunately lost his fight officially by TKO because he snapped his own damn knee at 15 seconds into the fight. I think he just literally stepped back on it, if I recall, and it just went.
I can't even remember, but yeah, I think so.
And I don't even know if Curtis Blades had touched him yet, if they touched each other yet.
I think there was a leg kick, I want to say.
Oh, it was one leg kick and then his rear leg. I think it was his rear leg that went. I think so.
I think it was the leg he kicked when he put it down.
Oh, you think so? Okay.
I think he kicked, brought it back, and then when he put it down, it went. Something like that. I don't know.
Okay. Sucks. Okay. Tybura, excuse me, the 37-year-old out of Poland. His record stands at 24-7 heading into this weekend. 9 finishes by knockout, another 6 by submission, and he's riding a 2-fight win streak coming into this weekend, defeating Alexander Romanov and Blagoy Ivanov, back in February. I will go first. I feel like I've picked a lot of Brits on this card. I feel like, looking back, I think the UFC has done, in some cases, some great matchups, and in other cases, some matchups that I think favor the Brit quite a bit. And this is one of them. Look, Tybura is a talented guy. He's getting a little long in the tooth at 37 years old, but hey, anything can happen in heavyweight at pretty much any age. You've even seen 40-year-olds have quite a bit of success in the heavyweight division in the UFC, in MMA overall, really. That being said, I've never been super high on Marcin Tybura. You know who I have been high on is Tom Aspinall. This man is talented. At one point, I think I've referred to him as the future of the UFC heavyweight division. He is the new blood that I think the UFC heavyweight division needs. And I'm going to be looking for him to get right back to his winning ways this Saturday night against the Pole. I'm going to say Tom Aspinall has another spectacular first-round finish over a very tough guy in Tybura. And there you have it. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, so he's a pretty huge favorite. Biggest we've said so far. He's minus 475. Marcin Tybura is plus 350 as the dog. The reach is the same. Tom Aspinall's 2 inches taller. If you listen to this show, you already know where I'm going here. I am a huge, huge believer in the game of Tom Aspinall. I truly love every aspect of his game. I believe he is the most intriguing test we have for John Jones at the moment, and I am hoping we can get there before John is gone. But if anyone does stop him from getting there, I don't think that person will be Marcin Tybura. He's been fighting well lately. He's no easy out. But tell me what he does better than Tom Aspinall does. There's nothing on that list. So, again, as Mike said, you never know. It's MMA, but I think Tom is better everywhere, and I think he doesn't even bother playing on the ground where Tybura's weight and grappling skill can come into play, even though I trust Tom's there as well, and I could even see him subbing Tybura. I don't think he even bothers. I think he aims to keep this one standing, simply relies on the speed, hurts Tybura, opens up with a combo, drops him, and ends this thing. So I will say Tom Aspinall, round 2 TKO.
Okay. Well, there you have it. We've given our thoughts and picks of just about every fight on this card. Always fun cards, these UFC London cards, man.
Yeah, oh yeah. I love the
With that being
cards.
said, let's roll on now and bring in the ringer. Bring him in. Right here. Bring in the lefty.
We shall. I just texted him. So, did we already say on this episode who it? Did we even say it in our intro of the episode? What we're doing?
I think we've kept it a secret.
I think we did. We didn't mean to do that. So yeah, we have a huge fight coming up in boxing. It is not this weekend. It is next weekend, but it happens to be the same night as a UFC pay-per-view, so we're going to have a busy show. So we decided to do this 1 week early. We are bringing our boy, Tommy O'Neill, from Boxing on YouTube, MMM Boxing. If you do not know, search him up. He's been on our show plenty times before for the big fights. And we're going to bring him on now to talk about the welterweight championship bout between Errol Spence Jr. and Terrance Bud Crawford that is a huge friggin' deal in the boxing world. 2 undefeated fighters. Bud Crawford is 39-0. Errol Spence is 28-0. They, for years, have been kind of pegged aside each other. We've been wanting the fight to happen. We have not quite gotten there yet. And we are here now. And now, perfect timing as I cue that up. Here is the man himself. What's up, bro?
Not much. Can you hear me?
You're
Yes, we
a little
can.
hot here. You're coming in a little hot.
How the fuck is that, Mike?
There you go. What's up, bro?
Not much, dude. Good to see you. Good to see you. I talk a lot with this guy over there, but Mike, it's good to see you, buddy, okay?
Yeah, man.
I was dangerously close last time to just commandeering that show when you were gone. Somebody needs to ringlead these guys.
Well, welcome, man. Glad we could have you back on. When was the last time we had you on here? I can't even think. What was the last big fight that we would have?
Not that long ago, when Mike was having his baby.
What was the fight?
When Mike was having
blanking
his
on what
baby,
would've
and it
been?
was the Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia fight.
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. It was that one. Yes.
I picked that one flawlessly.
And you nailed that one.
I picked that one flawlessly down to not a winner,
did.
who's the
You did.
favorite, but the round. But
You
the
did pick the round.
rounds,
You picked the fucking round.
the rounds that was plus money.
That was magic, what you did.
You did.
Thank you,
did.
my
well,
friend.
I'll tell you
Because
what.
I do want to say on this show. What, Mark?
No. Go, what do you want to say? Go ahead.
I'll tell you something. I have picked correct on this show. Do pretty good on my own show. This show, I have picked correct every single time I've been on
Wow.
here. Really down to, and I've picked underdogs on this show. I've picked plus money stuff and all that flawless so far. I'm really down to put that to the test again, like in not an easy way on this
Well, that's
episode.
exactly
Yeah,
what
this
I was
is a little
just
bit
going to
different
say.
thing
I was
than-
just going to say if we ever put you to the test, it is right now because this fight is very difficult to pick, and I'm very curious to hear which way you were going to go with this thing.
Tommy, the floor is yours. Like, cue this
floor
fight
is
up.
mine.
Yeah, for our listeners and viewers, cue this fight up. Who is fighting? Why does it matter? And then ultimately end with your pick.
Okay. Well, this fight is Terrance Bud Crawford, ranked pound for pound number 1 on almost everybody's list, versus Errol Spence Jr., who should be two maybe on people's list, but is kind of no lower than pound for pound number 3. And this fight is for all 4 belts in the welterweight division, 147 pounds. We have not seen not only a welterweight fight like this since the Four Kings genre in the late 80s, but I'm convinced that we have not seen. We've seen great unexpected fights, just like happened in MMA. I'm convinced we haven't seen a matchup that is this great and this pure in the sport of boxing since, maybe like on paper how it looks, as far as that, since like the Four Kings era in the late 80s. This fight means everything because the person who walks away from this fight, make zero mistake about it, is pound for pound number 1. Hands down. Hands down on everybody's list. He's pound for pound number 1 in the whole sport of boxing. Whoever wins this fight, like I said, it's all 4 belts undisputed. It means everything. This has been the greatest fight to make in boxing, obviously, for 5 to 6 years running. This fight was supposed to be put together 2 or 3 other times and fell through. And we're really getting it. We're literally 9 days away from it. This is just amazing. This is amazing. This is what boxing is about. And I love you guys. I love you guys, and I love MMA. Make no mistake about this. Dana White is watching this goddamn fight on his phone while he's sitting there at the promotion he's running.
Yes, fair enough. And
Dana loves boxing. Yeah. This is well known.
Yeah. He loves boxing, but he only does that for the really good ones. Yes. He only does that for the really, really good ones.
This is really good one.
Yeah. And so this is a fantastic fight that fans have wanted for so long. Now, I do want to touch on something really quick, if the floor is mine. I before we get any further in the show, I want to touch on like the fact that like in general, boxing fans are actually really good. You could argue that the hardcore boxing fans are a little bit like more hardcore to stick through with certain things they watch and stuff they put up with than what MMA fans have to, even the hardcores like yourselves. But the fans for this fight absolutely suck. All of you guys, right, that are out there that are that you love, you fucking just love one of the fighters. That's it. That's all there is to it. There is not respect put on this fight as it really, truly should be. I'm going to give you my pick and all that stuff, but there's not respect put on this fight like it should be because you just have Terrance Bud Crawford fans who are angry because definitely casual fans do not respond to him whatsoever. And then you have Errol Spence fans who are high on Errol Spence, and everybody hates on them because the guy trends a little bit with more casual fans, can pull in more of an audience, and the resume argument, which isn't an argument. Errol Spence has a better resume. That does not mean that he is the better boxer, so to speak. We're going to find that out, right, with the fight. And this is just your prime deal matchmaking. If you, any of you out there, or Mark or Mike, think in your head about a better fight that you could possibly imagine making in all of boxing, I will 100% logically tell you why you're incorrect. This is the greatest fight that you can make in boxing right now in any weight class.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Big statement.
You don't realize what will happen with this fight. You have a guy that on paper look like and as far as tape goes and film study and stuff looks better than possibly than Errol Spence. He's in Terrance Bud Crawford, deservingly pound for pound, but I don't have him as my number 1, but that's only because I consider both of the 2 aspects of the pound for pound, at least as far as boxing goes, which is definitely like your strength of schedule and who you have actually fought and defeated, or even in losses look really good and outstanding against, versus even if you have not, because this is sometimes the case, like Terrance Bud Crawford faced onslaught after onslaught of challenges, how you look visibly on tape the things you're able to do. Terrance Bud Crawford is a switch hitter. He can hit very hard and effectively. Does not necessarily look any worse in a southpaw position than he does in an orthodox position. And sometimes he can switch hit mid combination, which is that's a whole different thing that people that are known like switch hitters that are talked about, that's just because they can switch the stance for a while, switch the stance back. That is incredibly hard, and that's the reason why even professional boxers, not a lot of them that apply that at all, that because it's incredibly hard. But also to be able to do that fluidly within combination while you're moving your feet, switching the stance of which power hand you're throwing mid-combination is seemingly impossible for people like me to really grasp when you try it, or many people. And obviously, even professional fighters who do not apply it for good reason, because it's easier to learn how to hit from your opposite stance. What's incredibly difficult is becoming orientated with like your defense from that stance. So there's a reason why people don't really even try it. Terrance Bud Crawford does that amazingly. So he looks like a guy that it's not shocking if he beats the greatest welterweight fighter. And then if he beats Errol Spence Jr., to tell you the truth, he better move up or back down. I mean, probably up from there, but there's no reason to have any other fights. And if Errol Spence Jr. beats him at this point, boxing fans get frustrated when the fights aren't made, but the winner, like, this is it. This is it. So the guy that wins this fight, be bored and don't bother tuning in for any other fights in the welterweight division against the winner of this. I mean, there's just no other challenges there. This is for both men.
With you making that point of how high level this fight is, and in comparison to anyone else they could fight, and how there's not necessarily somewhere to go after this, do you think there's any scenario where they end up running this fight back, or you think this is a one-time deal?
That's actually a really good question, because I want to say, you're saying if I think there's any scenario, there's definitely a big scenario. I mean, this fight has a rematch clause in place in it.
Oh, okay.
So they're definitely like liable to run. If this fight, by the way, I'll give you more odds and stuff as we're closing this up and my full pick after the breakdown stuff here. But this fight that everybody thinks their favorite fighter, whoever they may be out of these two, is just going to dominate the other one. The odds are a minus 215 for this fight to go the distance, and that's fair. I would even put those odds a little higher myself. So, like, this fight's highly competitive. I guarantee you that, no matter who wins it. And there's a rematch clause in place. So, all the money that will be made and the eyeballs on this fight are... I mean, even this fight wouldn't have been made if it wasn't for that Tank Ryan fight and what people saw that did. Well, it's not even for a belt. Nobody gives a shit about these other things. We want to see the best fights, like MMA fans do.
Will it make the money that Tank and Ryan made?
Yeah, because Ryan Garcia is the biggest star out of all these guys.
Yeah. I beg to differ. I think Tank Davis is a bigger star than him.
You think so?
Okay, but same point.
We'll for the pay-per-view, but yeah, no.
Do you think they touched their money?
Man, I certainly hope so. Listen, I was excited for that fight. I ain't shitting on that fight just because of the way it turned out. A little bit more kind of one-sided and dominant, but I was excited, and I don't take that back, so I love that fight too. I'm not shitting on casual fans there, but hopefully people either way appreciate, that being said, that this has always been a better so much of a better fight. So I hope not, but you're probably right. It probably doesn't, if that's what you were thinking. It probably doesn't, and that's just unfortunate. But that's kind of the way that things work, right? Like, you guys just did a whole show on a UFC card that's actually pretty brilliant. with a lot of like very underrated matchmaking as far as it goes. But the casual fan's not going to give a fuck about it at all. So, you know, that being said, no, it's probably going to go. It's probably not going to do as well as that, but I hope it does. It does very well. But I forget what they did. 2 million or something pay-per-view buys almost. In Tank Ryan. I don't know that it does that, you know.
Gotcha.
But yeah, they basically this fight is like, stylistically speaking, this is your dream fight. You have I'm gonna throw a fun fact out there for you real quick too, to throw a wrench in the works of stats for this fight. Errol Spence Jr. You guys can fact check me on this real quick. I'd actually appreciate it because I'm not 100% sure. Okay. I think they're both undefeated. I think he's 28-0, Errol Spence.
Yep.
Crawford, hands down, has way more. Crawford, hands down, has way more fights. I think he has 39-0.
39-0.
39-0. Okay. So Terrance Bud Crawford, professionally, 39-0. Errol Spence Jr., 11 less fights. Errol Spence Jr. has thrown just the jab, you know, from southpaw. He's a southpaw fighter. Just the jab alone. He's thrown more jabs than Terrance Bud Crawford has thrown punches in his entire career. So Errol Spence Jr. is like a cardio machine. He's so active and pressure heavy and he's shown already, like the Sean Porter fight especially. The Dennis Ugas, that last fight he had, he thought that his mouthpiece came out. He thought maybe it was his teeth, and he kind of like paused for a second when he got hit, and he thought the ref was stopping it. He wasn't, which is dumb. But he looked over to pick up, and he's looking behind him with his hands down. The ref didn't stop the fight, and Ugas clean cracks him with his hands down, not looking, and didn't drop him. You know, the Sean Porter fight put him through the ringer. So he has shown that he is just like a ridiculous chin. On top of every single fight that he has had is a cardio showcase. A pressure style, move forward, lots of jabs, conventional. There's nothing going to be changed up from the game plan here as far as his conventional style. He does nothing fancy, Errol Spence Jr. He does everything exactly right. He is a coach's wet dream. And not only that, he has the trainer of the year from last year as his coach, Derek James, who also, you know, in his stable has the undisputed champ Jermell Charlo, his brother Jamal Charlo. They have the young up-and-comer Frank Martin in that camp. Recently took on Anthony Joshua in that camp. He's trainer of the year, and this is a guy who literally believes that you take what a fighter's good at, and I like this a lot. You take what a fighter's good at, and you drill that, and you find, he believes in the precision of the sweet science, and you stick to it, and there's no reason ever, he believes, basically, to be switching up stances, switching up game plans. You should be better. If you're not faster, be stronger, fight on the inside. Do what stylistically makes sense for the fight, and do not ever deter from the game plan, which is very different from a lot of other good coaches who believe that you should have a plan B, a plan C, and all this thing. He believes make your fighter so confident with the things he's good at. He won't send you out there if he doesn't believe you'll truly win the fight. And if he does send you out there, you do not deter from the game plan. You stick to the basics of boxing.
This is Bud Crawford?
No. This is Errol Spence Jr.'s coach.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Derek James, the trainer of the year. As far as Bud Crawford's coach, Bomac, who, you know, has done fantastic with Crawford. But I'm not gonna say that. Like, I mean, he is a good coach, right? He is a good coach. I don't know how good he is, because what I do see, like, regardless if Terrance wins the fight, he doesn't win the fight, I said it's going to be super competitive. These are the best guys. I do see that a lot of he can switch stance kind of naturally. I don't think that's as much trained. I think he's highly athletic, and more athletic than Errol Spence Jr., so to speak. And I think that he can get away with a lot from that, especially when you see that his level of competition that he's fought throughout his career has been good. See, this is the other part. These Errol Spence Jr. fans just hate on his resume. I mean, the guy has moved up. He's a unified champion at 140 before he moved up to 147. He unified every single belt. He beat Victor Postal before beating Victor Postal was a thing. So he does have good names. But after that, and as far as the welterweight division goes, he has fought his best names, but he fought a very old Amir Khan, and that fight never should have been made. Never had that fight. Amir Khan got just fucking hit in not even the stomach, but more the solar plexus, and said that he got hit in the balls and quit that fight. It's a shame. So that fight is just scratched. That name doesn't count, and I stand by that. He doesn't get to have like Amir Khan on there at that age and his condition. You don't really get that. You have Sean Porter, and you have you have Kell Brook on there for Terrance Bud Crawford, and both those fights, they weren't washed or anything like that, like some people would say. They're not, and those are full credit fights, and he stopped Sean Porter. But those are both his best other names, and those are both people that he got after Errol Spence Jr. beat them in their prime. Went to the UK to fight Kell Brook when Kell Brook was the champion, and that's how he got his first belt there, in Kell Brook's backyard in his prime. Fought Sean Porter years and years before the Terrance Crawford fight with him, where he was stopped and said before that fight and after, and all sorts of, I was thinking about retiring, win or lose, which is never a great mindset to hear as well. But Sean Porter and Errol Spence went to absolute war with each other. That was one of my maybe my favorite fight of that year that happened. And that was like a test of wills. And you know what? Because this is a YouTube show, we're going to lean to get your duck emojis out and all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like these hating comments here. We're going to lean right into it. I pick Errol Spence Jr. to win this fight as an underdog.
Wow. How do you think he's going to do it?
I think that he's going to do it by unanimous decision, and that the fight goes all the way. And I think that it's possible that he drops Bud in the late rounds, like 11 or 12, with the absolute pace that he has shown that he puts on in every fight without switching his style. He's basically, with what I said before about it, with his trainer and Derek James and how he fights so flawlessly but simple. He doesn't change his game plan. So he's a guy that you count on knowing what he's bringing to the table, which every time is relentless pressure, stay in your face. You're not going to land a lot on me clean, but if you do land real clean right on my chin, I ain't going down. And just stay in your face the whole time, and never deter. He says himself, which I loved. I gotta be honest. I love this in the press conference. He says, we're just gonna do what we do, basically. Like, this is another man that I break his body, and after I break his body, then I break his will. And he said, just break him like a horse. And he said, have I not done that my whole career? He absolutely has shown exactly that. He's fought very good. You want to talk about fucking Errol Spence's resume? I mean, he was the guy supposed to fight, get that Manny Pacquiao fight, which I would have bet my life savings on. I know Omar isn't here, but Omar always backs me up when I tell people, bet the mortgage. You know what I'm saying? Bet the mortgage. Errol Spence is going to deliver what he always delivers. However, Terrance Bud Crawford and the way that he switches stances, fights fancy, does fancy things in there. What actually can happen a lot of times is that kind of shit can get you in trouble against super, super solid, reliable, simple fighters. That fancy shit a lot of times can get you in a lot of trouble against guys like that. And all that switching stances with a guy who is built to stay in front of your face, and you're going to try to exchange with him in the pocket like that, that's not a good idea. And unfortunately, Terrance Bud Crawford, who is an absolute fantastic fighter, who is deserving right now of being pound for pound. Now, I don't hate on that. Pound for pound number one, sure. He has not fought anyone that's close to the caliber of Errol Spence Jr. He hasn't fought a soul that holds a candle to what Errol Spence Jr. will bring to this fight in quite literally like every single way. Experience more than Terrance Bud Crawford. Cardio. Terrance Bud Crawford has not needed to show so much. He's good. He's athletic. All that. And the fighting style of it. Terrance Bud Crawford's like a counterpuncher. He's a counterpuncher because he can move forward and be aggressive, but what he sleeps guys with is counterpunching and stuff. So you would think, I want a guy going towards me, and he's good on his feet, switching stance, he can back up. Now, everything that he has said about this fight, and everything that came out in the media workouts, and everything, unless this is a complete deception in every way that's like clearly planned out, in the way that he said everything he said, and the way that he shows himself in media workouts, unless it's all a very smart game plan to literally meant to distract from what they're actually going to do. He says he's going to stand there with him and slug it out like the old timers, which Errol Spence loves. You know, the like we're Hagler Hearns in here. Like let's go. And that I mean, he better not do that. He better not do that.
Speaking of slugging it out, hearing you say that, if someone does finish this fight, is it more likely to be Spence who can finish it in your eyes? That's what it's sounding like to me, but I'm curious to hear you clarify that.
No.
Oh, other way.
No. I think this fight goes to decision. But
no, I know. I'm saying
if you told me ahead of time. No, I know. If you told me ahead of time, I'm not going to tell you who wins, but I'll tell you that it was a stoppage. I think it's Terrance Bud Crawford.
Wow, interesting
scenario.
Interesting.
Because he's a very good counterpuncher. And I think that, again, like what Terrance should do is use that footwork, be smart, be a little more active earlier. Not notoriously like a fast starter, like Errol Spence's. Errol Spence's go from round 1 all the way. He literally doesn't look different in round 12. I swear to God, you guys, all you need to do is watch Errol Spence fights. That's all you need to do to see all the proof of it. Doesn't look a bit different from round 1 to 12. Terrance is a little bit of a slow starter. Not real bad, but he's literally like in the Kell Brook after Errol Spence fought him, or broke his orbital bone on both sides of his face and all that stuff. I mean, when Terrance fought him, he lost several of the early rounds to him. When Terrance fought Sean Porter, I did have Terrance up at the time of the stoppage. Some other people had Sean Porter up at the time of the stoppage. And I'll say it was close. You know, he gives rounds away. What Spence does is again, you don't deter from the game. His game plan is, I'm going to be way more active than you. If you use your head movement to get out of the way of my jabbing, which is just, I mean, that's the gates of everything he's got going on. The jab. From only this, he's only just southpaw. Won't probably switch it up at all. Just a southpaw jab in his face all fight long. If you move your head enough, you're going to get tired, and then I'll just start. It'll be worse. If you're blocking on your guard, that doesn't stop me. Good for you. I look more active. I'm backing you up. And then if you hold that guard too close in to stop the jab, then I loop around from the side. I work everything off of the jab. That's what Errol Spence's motto is. So I just see a guy that is so sound of a fighter, who doesn't have holes in his game, versus a guy who is very great, highly elite, highly explosive, athletic, but maybe too fancy and different and freestyle flowing of a fighting style to fight a guy where you can't make mistakes at all, and to fight a guy where if you don't make the mistakes and you're doing well, and you're doing all that fancy footwork and all that stuff that he honestly should do, because he shouldn't stand there with Spence, because he will have a hell of a time putting Spence out. That if he does that, it's going to be way later. Like if he drops Spence even round 5, we're good. We're money. He's just getting back up. But Errol Spence never been dropped either. Terrance Bud
Is the
Crawford,
size a factor for you?
they called it a slip. Yeah, Terrance. Yeah, that's another thing. Errol Spence is huge. That guy's doing these open media workouts 9 days away from this fight to make 147 pounds. If he's not like 165 goddamn pounds right now, I mean, I don't know what he. I would bet money he's like 165 looking right now. 9 days out from 147
he's that much bigger, huh?
Wow.
Because I know obviously Bud fought at
he's a lot bigger.
Came up, five fights ago or so, but I see it's only 2 inches of height, and I see Bud actually even has a 2-inch reach advantage. But I keep hearing people say how Spence is such a bigger man.
It's frame wise. His frame is a lot. I mean, you just look at like. You guys run an MMA show. You guys have been looking at guys' backs. You know what I'm saying? You look at the back, right? The back is huge. It's fucking enormous. His frame is a lot bigger, dude. You know what I'm talking about when I say that. Like, when you look at it, his frame is so much bigger to where they can't naturally walk around at the same weight, really.
Bud has a crazy reach for his height. 74-inch reach at 5'8" is wild.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how McGregor reach, am I right?
Yeah, maybe.
74-inch wingspan.
Like that.
Yeah. It's the same kind of, and he's a fast twitch, muscle fiber kind of guy, very fast twitch, athletic, explosive, and a clean counter puncher. So what he should do is try not to do so much fancy stance switching, but stay keeping trying to run Errol, who will come forward into something. That's what he should do. But I think that he actually stands there and tries to fight with him and prove a point. This fight has so much like hatred, horrible fandom. You guys get your duck emojis out, okay? This is it. I'll lean right into it. I'm wearing an Errol Spence shirt. So everything I've said on this podcast so far, all I am is a fanboy. I have not boxed before or ran a YouTube boxing channel for 3 years. It's just this fanboy stuff. It's all fanboy stuff. They're both ducking each other. They're both scared, and one of them is going out round 1. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All right. People are out of their fucking minds. This is the most competitive fight.
One last question for you. I know you're on Spence. I'm trying to gauge how confidently you're on Spence. If they were to fight 10 times, or we could call it 9, so it's an odd number, do you think it's 5-4 Spence, or do you think he wins significantly more than that?
Nah, it's like a 5-4. Best case scenario, a 6-3.
Okay, so it's that close. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's not safe. It's not safe. I'm really putting that record on the line for you guys right now. But you know what? There's no value in betting on Terrance Crawford as far as gambling goes. Can I say that real quick? As far as just straight gambling stuff goes, which I talk about a lot on my show, there is no value in doing that, because mark my damn words, dude. Either way, and I don't care like whatever the outcome. Dude, on paper, this is a 50-50 fight.
Wow.
This is 100% what you call a 50-50 fight. And so if you see a guy that right now, I believe Errol Spence is a plus 250 underdog, and it'll probably go up even more. And that is too wide. That is unfair, and there is your value as far as your gambling odds go. I mean, it is so let's put it this way, super duper unsafe to bet whatever. What's Bud guys. A minus 180 to bet $200 to win $100 is super unsafe to do for Bud Crawford to win, whether he does or not. Those odds aren't right. So you got to ride with the underdog. Plus, listen, I have for a long time when this fight has been just awaited, always said that I've told you guys aside from this fight, what I always say, I really value your strength of resume. You know, that is what I like in fighters. And when I make my picks a lot of times, of course, if you have a great resume and you're out there, but then you're going way down a hill, you're getting older, that's different. In general, these guys are undefeated. Like Spence's resume that's something fans argue all the time. That's a void argument. That's not an argument. It's not an argument. Just look up their box recs and tell me if you're a hardcore fan, listen. You could pick Bud Crawford to win. A lot of hardcore fans actually do. Zero problem with that. But if you're a hardcore fan, you fucking know not to make the argument that Terrance Crawford's resume is even close. Never mind better. Is even close to what Errol Spence's resume as far as name value goes. And if you're a casual fan, that it gets even simpler. Whose names do you recognize when you look up their box recs? Whose names do you recognize? Do you recognize fucking one name on Terrance Crawford's resume? One? No. You don't recognize. You don't even, people don't even fucking know who Victor Postal was. And I give the man all the credit in the world for beating Victor Postal at 140 pounds before he went downhill and all that stuff. I give him all the credit in the world. But people make these arguments, they don't even know who, Victor Postal was. They don't even know who he was. So it's dumb arguments about this fight with the resumes, and that being said, like I said, I always say that I value resumes a lot. How much experience do you have against these great fighters versus somebody who looks like the equivalent? Now, I'm gonna give you an MMA equivalent of a Sean O'Malley, let's say. Now that Peter Yan fight was showing whether you had him winning or not, yeah, but. Looks like amazing, looks super athletic, and does a bunch of fancy stuff, and looks like maybe he could smoke whoever. Like, you wouldn't be too surprised. But how the fuck do we know he only just got this one crazy step up? Especially before that Peter Yan fight, there's nothing. So that's kind of the comparison of your Terrance Bud Crawford, a guy who looks like he could murder anybody in the world, but who the fuck knows until we see it. Now we're going to see it on the 29th.
Oh, wow. Oh, baby. Always bringing the heat. Great stuff as always, Tommy. Thank you for dropping knowledge on us and on our MMA-loving audience. I feel like this is like a fucking masterclass every time you come on here, man.
You really think that, Mike?
Yes, I do. Dude,
I
you know so much
you.
Your passion just comes through.
I really, really appreciate you saying that, Mike. And you know what? I appreciate you guys and your show. It's absolutely blowing up. Can I plug myself before we get out of here?
Please do.
100%.
Tell us all the things where our listeners can also find you if they want to get into some boxing.
So I've shouted your guys' show out a lot on unboxing because if you want MMA, that's where you go. But I'm going to tell you MMA fans, if you care at all about boxing, definitely check out my channel. It's unboxing, which is super easy. It's only 3 M's. Space boxing, and it'll be the very first thing that comes up that you can subscribe to that has an Everlast glove and a fork in it, because we eat that shit up over here. We love boxing. I give you good gambling picks. I have many different shows like that. I give you every single week my picks for the fight and my breakdowns, just like I did here. And I also have many different specials like greatest robberies in boxing, unknown to casuals, which I like a lot, which puts casual fans in contact with like knowing about the fighters that they should but they don't know about. And yeah, we have a lot of different kind of content on there. It's a show that I've been running for 3 years, and I definitely appreciate comments, which have come in more, and I love to interact with the fans in a respectful manner. Do you know what I'm saying, you guys? Yes.
We do, bro. We do. Awesome,
yeah, Tommy's
man.
show is great. If you, as he said, if you
Awesome
care about
stuff.
boxing at all, absolutely go check it out because it is worth every second that you will spend over there. So yeah, throw the boy a sub, and he's the best guest we have on this show.
I am the best guest of all fucking time on this show, Mike. Am I not?
You are, bro.
There's no one's holding a candle to me,
Nobody.
dude. I'm the yeah.
That's right.
Go check out their other guests, and then let me know what you think. You know, I'll be your favorite for sure.
Well, let's sign off, gentlemen. I gotta turn in because I'm ring announcing an event tomorrow, some pro Muay Thai for a WBC North American title. Can't wait for that one. And yeah, thanks for
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. Enjoy the fights this weekend. UFC Fight Night at the O2 Arena in London. Tom Aspinall taking on Marcin Tybura. And once again,
Maybe throw a little money on Touchy Feely.
You think so? Mark and
we
I
both went the
picked,
other way.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but I'm the firecracker, aren't I? I'm giving you dog picks on.
Oh, I get why, man. We were talking
One
about
last
it.
time,
Feely's
folks.
got huge size on him.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the weight class. All right, folks.
He's got something to prove. He's got something to prove too.
Yeah, man. All right, one
Touchy Feely.
last time, guys. Go check out Boxing on YouTube. And with that being said, we'll see you next week.
Tommy, thanks, bro. That was awesome.
All right,
Peace.
guys.
Yeah.
Peace.